guys, in this video we'll be looking at client-side rendering with Next.js. So what's client-side rendering? So in Next.js, it means that the web page is initially loaded with only the basic HTML and JavaScript, and then the rest of the content is loaded and rendered by the browser on the client side. So when a user requests a page, the Next.js server will send back the minimal HTML file and a JavaScript bundle containing the necessary React components. So once the JavaScript is executed on the client side, the React components will then fetch the data needed to render the page, generate the HTML, and then update the DOM. So this approach allows for a more dynamic and interactive user experience, as changes can be made to the page without requiring a full page refresh. One key benefit of client-side rendering is that it allows our pages to be much more interactive and a bit faster, as the user is only required to download the minimal HTML file and JavaScript bundle from the server, rather than a fully rendered page. This translates to faster load times and a more seamless experience for users, but it also requires some processing power on the client side, as JavaScript must be executed and the HTML generated and updated, which could be a concern for older or less powerful internet-powered devices. Okay, so how are we going to use client-side rendering in our movie management application? So we'll be using the SWR library, which it is derived from stale-while-revalidate. So SWR is a React hooks library that allows us to fetch and cache data from the server while providing real-time updates to the UI. Okay, so we're gonna see it in action right here. So in our final product, you can see I'm gonna reload this watchlist page, and you can see it quickly showed a loading state, and then the movies added to our watch list. But that's not the interesting thing. We are using SWR here, but let's look at how interesting it is. So another tab here, and I'm going to open, let's say, Tall Love and Thunder. And if I click on Add to Watch List, I don't have to refresh my watch list page, but you can see Thor Love and Thunder has been added already. So let's remove it. And you can see it has been removed already from our watch list page. So that's the advantage of using the SWR library. And the SWR library is also built by the team, the Next.js team. So we use SWR to fetch and display these watch list data from our API routes. And then we're also going to provide optimistic UI updates. So that means this part here is going to update when a user performs an action like adding a movie or removing a movie from the watch list, and you're going to see the updates in real time. And they're going to create a hook, a use watch list hook, a custom hook that will help us to handle not just fetching the data from the API routes, but also loading and error states. This hook will be used to fetch the watchlist data and provide it to the UI components in the client-side rendered page. Okay, let's get straight into it. So I'm on the our project here, and we've not created a watchlist page. So how do we do that? We simply go, let's close our folder. We simply go to the pages directory, and we create a file that's going to correspond to that route. So we're going to call it watchlist.js, and I'm going to simply call it watchlist. Okay. Then I'm going to go to our header, and we're going to simply wrap this with a link tag. And when we wrap that, we could easily navigate to the watchlist page. Okay, so I'm gonna say link and wrap this, and make sure you're importing it from Next. Okay, then pass in a href, and the href is gonna take us to the watchlist routes. So if I save it and I click on watchlist, you can see we have watchlist. Well, now we look at the styling is a bit off, so let's work on that a bit. Okay, so just gonna give it some style. And style is usually very basic, just to remove the text decoration. So text decoration, and I'm going to pass none to it. So if I head back, you can see it's back to normal. Okay, so it's time to design the watch list page quickly. So I'm going to head back. I'm going to close this. And I'm going to head to our watch list page. And instead of this div, I'm just going to return a stack. So trying to make it identical as our finished project. So they're going to have a center, and the center I'm going to have a title. This title is just going to say your watch list, okay? And the center is going to have a height of 250 pixels, and the background is going to be blue. And you can see we have this, and you can see it's pretty much identical to this one here. Okay, and remember this API route we used in the previous video that we're going to use. This is what we're going to consume in our custom hook. So now we have our watch list here, and then down here is where we're going to display our data. Okay, so let's do that. So before we're going to create our custom hook. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to head to our lib folder, and I'm going to create another folder called hooks, and I'm going to create my first hook, which is going to be called use watchlist.js. Okay, and it's gonna simply export it. So that's export const use watchlist, and what's the content going to be? So we're going to say const, and now we are going to use the SWR library, and to use the SWR library, it has to be installed. And click on get started. You have to install with npm, pnpm, or yarn. In our case, you use yarn. You can use npm or yarn, but remember, if you're using the starter files, you don't have to add this already. It comes pre-packaged in our starter files. So I'm going to say const here. Let's make use of useSWR. So going to be equals to. So SWR has this hook called useSWR. And let's see, we have to import it. So I'm going to head to the top. Let's configure useSWR first. So I'm just going to say import useSWR from SWR. Okay, and after importing it, we need a fetcher function for useSWR. So I'm going to quickly go to our utils.js, and down here I'll just I'm going to create a exporter function. I'm going to call it fetcher function for useSWR. Okay, and then I'm going to export const fetcher. It's going to be equals to taking some arguments, and then I'm going to fetch those arguments. Dot then the response, then res that's JSON. So this is the fetcher function, and I'm gonna go back to useSWR here. Our user watchlist hook. I'm just gonna say useSWR, then the endpoint you want to fetch. So I'm going to API/watchlist, and then passing a fetcher we just created. Great. So from useSWR, we get two items: data, that's the return data of the fetcher function, and then error, the error object thrown by the fetcher function. But this is not necessarily enough. We also need a loading state. So useSWR makes that easy using a custom hook. So we're going to say const is loading. It's going to be our loading state. It's going to be equals to when there is no data and when there is no error yet. So that's literally the logic behind it. When there's no data, when there's no error yet, that's going to be our loading state. So we're going to return an object. So we have our watch list first. Our watch list is going to be our data. Then we return is loading, and then we return error. So this is our custom hook, and we're going to use it right now in our watch list page. So how do we do that? So we're gonna close this. We're gonna go to watch list, and right above our return statement, we're gonna say const, and then we simply bring in our watch list. We're gonna say use watch list. Okay, and then what do we need from there? We simply need watch list, and we need is loading. Okay, so I'm then going to console.log both of them, watch list and it's loading, and save it. So if I head to our watch list page, you can see I'm getting first it was undefined, then true, undefined, then true. Then it was later an empty array, then false. Now, where is the empty array coming from? Remember, we don't have anything in our watch list here. So that's why we have this empty array, and we're getting it from our endpoint using useSWR. Perfect. So now I'm going to display that if we go to Safari Project and we refresh this watch list page, you can see there's a skeleton loader before we display this carousel. We're going to implement that right now. So first off, we want to create a skeleton loader. So I'm just going to head to our components. We're going to close this folder, and then under components, we're going to create a file called skeleton loader.js. And loader.js is going to be pretty simple. It's going to return a simple grid. Return a simple grid and a self-closing. No, it's not. It's an opening and closing. It has opening and closing tags. And then you're going to have 3 columns and lots of spacing. So we're going to pass in LG to it. So right in here, we're going to render a skeleton. So skeleton is a component from Mountain. So I'm self-closing. So let's make sure we've imported it. Skeleton from Mountain. Cool. I'm going to pass in a height prop. Height prop is going to be 250 pixels. So we need 3 of these because we have 3 columns. So 1, 2, 3. And that's actually our skeleton loader. So we're going to head back to our watch list page, and right down here we are going to have an expression, a JavaScript expression that says it's loading and skeleton loader, and this is supposed to be inside the stack. Okay, so it's loading. So that means if our hook was returning a true loading statement, it would have rendered this. Let's refresh to see that in action. So refresh, you could see we had that loading state, which quickly went off. So if it's loading, it should display that that skeleton loader. Else, I have another conditional statement that says watch list, which is the data from our hook, dot length. If it's greater than 0, and so like if it's greater than 0, it should render our movie carousel, However, our movie carousel expects a prop of movies. So we're going to pass in watchlist directly to it because watchlist is going to be an array of those movies, remember? So we're going to save it. And you can see there's still nothing because, of course, the length of this watchlist is it's 0. We're going to have another conditional statement here. It's going to say watchlist dot length, and if it's less than 1, it should render another stack, and in the stack we're going to have a title. And the title is going to be a H3, so an order of 3, but a size of H4. I'm just simply going to say you haven't added any movie to I've not added any movie. Not added any movie. And that should be it. Okay, so if we head back here to our page, you can see it says you haven't added any movie. But I want it to be at the center, okay? So to do that, we are well, first let's just add a button down here. We're gonna have a link, okay? And the link is going to take us to our we're going to have a search page. So we're going to have search, and down here we're going to render a button, and the button is going to say search for movies, and I'm going to align them to the center. So I'm going to say align center and save. So you can see here it says you haven't added any movies. So let's refresh. You can see you have added a movie. So let's put that into action. We're going to add a movie right now to our watch list. Okay. So in here is going to change the endpoint to dashboard, and I'm going to add Minions the Rise of Gru to it. And if I click on add to watch list, it's been added. And if I head back here, you can see it's been added automatically, as you can see. So that's basically it. Let's see if there's any other corrections to make, because our carousel isn't displaying what we want yet. So we are having different properties here. So the image is not loading because we're having poster. However, if we quickly go to let's quickly open our movie carousel. Movie summary card, you can see we are passing in EMS version ID, tomato rating, name, poster, image, URL. But that was what we were getting from our API. But now we're getting it from our own database. So we are going to have conditional statements, statements in our that we're going to pass in as properties. So first is going to be the name, not the name, sorry, the poster. So for image, I'm gonna say gonna have or movie dot, and for endpoint from our own database again, it's just a simple poster, not poster image.url. So I'm gonna say poster. So if we save, you can see the image now appears. So next thing now is the rating, and then the link. So for the rating, we are having rating instead of tomato rating.tomato meter. So here again, I'm gonna say or movie dot rating, and then for the ID, instead of image version ID, it might also be movie ID, and I'm just gonna copy this and copy this and do same for the keys both here and the one at the top. Great. So let's see if that's going to work. And now we have everything working properly. So in this video, we've seen how to implement client-side rendering. In our case here, we created a custom hook and we fetched from our API endpoints, or API route rather, using SWR, stale-while-revalidate. And it's a pretty nice library. It also offers caching, and apart from caching, you could also, or caching rather, you could also, it also automatically revalidates itself. So when I added something to the watchlist or removed it, it's going to update on its own without me having to refresh. And we also added conditional properties